Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Fiesta Parade Floats. You ought to know Jim Hall right here, and we are in the city of Duarte at the Fiesta Floats Pavilion. Actually, we're in the giant tent where 12 floats are being prepared for the Tournament of Roses Parade, the Rose Parade, coming up New Year's Day. And we're here to bring this show to you, bigger and better than ever. A lot of volunteers working back here on the floats, getting the floats ready for New Year's Day and the big Rose Parade headed down Colorado Boulevard. Now we're here, we're going to be talking with Tim Estes, the owner of Fiesta Parade Floats, and we're going to check out some of the float design activity and the floral arrangements going on these floats, getting them ready for New Year's Day. Why are we here in Duarte at Fiesta Parade Floats, getting ready for New Year's? Well, simply because you ought to know. Stay with us, everybody. It's going to be a great show. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall, you ought to know, and I am at Fiesta Parade Floats in Duarte, getting ready for the Tournament of Roses Parade, Rose Parade, New Year's Day, headed down Colorado Boulevard, and we're back meeting once again with the owner of Fiesta Parade Floats, Tim Estes. Tim, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Well, glad you're here today.
Well, we're glad we're here, too, because, well, you know, this is, 20th year anniversary for you, right?
Yeah, it's Fiesta Parade Floats 20th anniversary, and we're pretty excited, and we've got some great product this year.
Tell us about some of the product. We're outside the big giant tent, so you can't see the floats right now. Nobody knows what's in there yet. But there is some decorating going on, some seeds, some glues going on, and some different floral activity going on. The volunteers are all in place. Things are happening. So tell us about that.
Well, right now we're doing the first 2 days of decoration is primarily a lot of the dry materials we use on the floats. Materials that are more hardier than the fresh flowers that we use on the floats themselves, so which they start going on tomorrow on the 28th.
All right, now what are they putting on right now? What are we seeing going on here?
Well, like on this undersea shell that's for the Kaiser float, Kaiser Permanente, they're decorating various seeds to give the color clarification that you see on this particular shell, using flax seeds and a little bit of clover seed and sesame seed to give that texture and color.
All right, now over here we've got some sea tortoises or sea turtles that are taking shape, and floral design going on there, and obviously I can make out some of it. I see the green peas. What else we have?
Oh, you have lentil seed and green peas that are doing the majority of the fins and the feet on the tortoise, as well as up on his head. And you can see the beautiful design work because they've been putting them on using a pair of tweezers, putting on each bean or each seed one at a time. Eventually the black eye of the turtle will be done in both seaweed as well as white carnation petals for the white of its eye.
Now, 20 years, Fiesta Parade Float's been doing this, and Tim, that's you, and Jim Hind along with you, floral director now, Fiesta Parade Floats, award-winning floats year after year, and you've got some of the best clients in the world. Tell us who some of the clients are.
Some of the great clients we're working with this year, again, are returning clients like FTD and Kaiser Permanente and Rainbird, as well as some new clients like the people from the Palazzo Resort, from Las Vegas, when their float's being used for the opening number in the parade, and then it'll also become the lead float in the Rose Parade.
Now let's talk about that. The lead float, it's actually going to be kind of a production number going on as the parade gets underway.
Correct. The Tournament of Roses is teamed up with the Palazzo Resort, which is part of the Sands Corporation, as well as Wells Fargo Bank are sponsoring the opening number, and they have over 80 performers with Up With People, as well as about 100 Boy Scouts will be around carrying various flags of different countries throughout the world to kind of help tie in, the world celebrations that are occurring. The float itself is being built as far as being both a stage as well as a moving float. So once the opening number is over with, all the performers exit the float, and then all the float riders get on the float, and the float now becomes the lead float in the Rose Parade. So it's never happened before.
Now, with that float being entered, or with the production number leading off the parade, is that actual float in the judging for any of the consideration?
Yes, it is. We have to fully decorate it as if it's a regular float that's being decorated for the Rose Parade in itself. They're just kind of doubling up on its use by having it being used for the opening number as background. And all the people are already practicing the full rehearsals starting actually today in Pomona.
All right, let's talk about some of the floats. This one behind us depicting Hawaii, and there's some significance to that because that's Kaiser Permanente, right?
Correct. Kaiser Permanente, it's their 50th anniversary and being in Hawaii, and also with the theme of the parade being Passport to the World Celebration, they're saluting the Aloha Festival that's occurring in Hawaii. So we have this beautiful 40-foot outrigger canoe that moves up and down. We have dolphins on the float that are moving up and down as well. Number of float riders on the street, and we're also going to have performers on the street, hula dancers, actually performing on the street during the parade.
So that's kind of unique this go-round. You'll have people on the streets as well as people on the float with this one.
Correct. C.L. Keaty, this year's president of the Rose Parade, he has somewhat put a little bit of a challenge to the float builders this year that to try and strive for some additional entertainment value on the floats, and by doing that with outwalkers that complement the float. And in this case, with the Aloha Festival, we have Hawaiian dancers performing on the street.
All right, let's talk about just adjacent to the Kaiser Permanente entry, 50 years in Hawaii. Significant mark there. Right behind us, we have part of a two-piece unit, Day of the Dead, and that is who?
It's for the city of Santa Fe Springs. It's Dia de los Muertos, Celebration of Life, and it's a two-section float. Each unit has its own motor. You have the lead front unit up front that's about 25 feet long, and then behind it is the main unit, which is also 55 feet long and is 26 feet tall. It has different figurines that are very synonymous with the Day of the Dead Festival, which is actually a celebration of life, like La Katrina is one of the more well-known figures. And also on the street will be performers on this particular float, dancers that'll be going along with the float. And in the center of the main unit is what's called the Tree of Life. And again, it's another way to celebrate life. And City of Santa Fe Springs has really stepped to the plate on this massive two-unit entry. And they're also decorating it as a community on their own, so they're doing a great job.
Now, how did this one come about, or who actually did the planning on this, or how did you get around a table with people? How does that all work? How does it come together?
Well, what we strive to do is do a little homework and find out some of the desired direction that each client wants to have for the Rose Parade. And in this case, City Santa Fe Springs certainly is very proud of their heritage, and they want to have a float that really projected being the theme of the parade being Passport to the World Celebration. So we showed the selection committee with the City of Santa Fe Springs about 6 different drawings, but this one really caught their eye. It's very unique in the parade, and we have great expectations on winning a prize this year.
All right. Well, we're going to come back in just a moment. We're going to continue talking with Tim Estes, the owner of Fiesta Parade Floats. We're in the city of Duarte. In fact, Tim, we're sitting on property as the floats are being decorated. It actually belongs to the City of Hope.
Correct. The City of Hope Hospital, which is a world-renowned cancer research center, this is their property, but we also do their float, which is sponsored by the City of Duarte and the City of Hope together.
All right. Don't go anywhere, everybody. We're going to be right back. Getting ready for the Rose Parade, the big Tournament of Roses parade coming down Colorado Boulevard New Year's Day. And why are we here? Simply because you ought to know. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone. Jim Hall, you ought to know. And here we are, second week in a row, and we're at Fiesta Parade Floats in the city of Duarte, getting ready for the Tournament of Roses Parade, the 2008 Tournament of Roses Parade, coming down Colorado Boulevard. But, Tim, before the floats can even move, a lot of things have to go on, just a number of days, and this is when the volunteers pack in. I'm with Tim Estes, the owner of Fiesta Parade Floats. How many volunteers, Tim, are going to be in the tent area here working on 12 floats that Fiesta has designed?
We have approximately 1,500 people that work per day at the decorating site here in Duarte, and just a great group of people that really put a lot of time and effort and great detail work that goes on these floats.
Now, these volunteers all come from where? Where are you getting all of them from?
Well, some of the floats, such as like City Santa Fe Springs and Cerritos, are what we call self-decorated. They do it as a community project, where other groups will hire a decorating crew, such as the Girl Scouts or a high school band that are doing it for a fundraiser, and in exchange for them decorating the float, I'll make a donation to their organization.
Well, I've known for years some of the Masonic organizations, Rainbow Girls, Job's Daughters, and the D. Malay have come down and they've decorated. I'm sure you get marching bands and other groups like that come in and do and participate.
Oh, absolutely. You know, what's really great is just seeing the spirit of all the kids as well as the adults that really get hooked into this, and it's just really neat to see this come together.
I got to do a little plug, too, because I am wearing my USC shirt today. Did you notice that today?
Excellent. SC by 14.
By 14. All right, tell us what we've got going on right here on this particular float.
Well, what we have here with the float behind us is sponsored by the Department of Tourism for the state of New Mexico, and they're trying to talk about various celebrations that occur in New Mexico. In this case, they've actually hit two on the one float. Towards the front of the float, we have our space aliens in the moving rocket ship that twists side to side and up and down with CO2 blasting out, and it's saluting Roswell, New Mexico, which is one of the biggest tourist spots in the state of New Mexico in itself. And up here, we have our dog, because our space alien family is going on a vacation, and this is the friendly dog going also out on the trip, but it comes off the float so we can do better detailed decoration, and this young lady here is doing a great job.
Now, she's putting actually what type of material on this as she's decorating this?
Right now she's working on what we call yellow straw flower confetti. It's a dehydrated mum that the petals are cut off and creates what we call a confetti material because it's nice and fine. And also you got almonds and parsley flakes, and then she'll continue working on with the straw flower back onto its tail. So it's really coming out cute. And then the white antennas is done in coconut macaroon.
Okay, I noticed you used the word cute, but let's go over to something that really looks fantastic.
Sure,
and once again, always fantastic. This is Rainbird, right?
Correct. This is the back end of the Rainbird float, this is Rainbird's 12th year in the Rose Parade, and one of the highest prize-winning floats in the parade. In fact, it's won sweepstakes a number of years. And Rainbird is saluting preservation celebration. It's talking about preserving animals, the environment, as well as the intelligent use of water. So we have 4 tigers on it. They'll be moving their heads. We also have 5 working waterfalls, and we have 18 high-pressure misting nozzles. And inside the float, we have over 2,000 pounds of water.
All right, let's talk about Rainbird. Let's walk down here just for a second. When we look at that and you talk about the number of waterfalls and the things that go on in this float, now Rainbird has always been innovative in their floats. In fact, hasn't Rainbird been a sweepstakes winner over a past number of years?
Yeah, Rainbird has won sweepstakes like 5 years, 3 years in a row, and it's one of the top floats every year in the Rose Parade. And we're very pleased to work with Rainbird because they give us a lot of latitude with respect to the design direction, and they're just a great company to work with.
Well, when they come up with these innovations, for instance, did you suggest let's do 5 waterfalls, or did they say let's incorporate a lot of water because that's Rainbird, where we represent water and conservation and so on?
Well, again, we meet with Rainbird and we showed them a number of different design concepts that we're trying to hit what was important to Rainbird, which is the environment, animals, endangered species, as well as the intelligent use of water. And we try and augment all those different criteria into the float design, in this case with these twice the normal sized tigers, and then on top of that we have the ancient ruins and all the waterfalls. So it's been great, again, to have Rainbird's input on this float.
Now, I always look at these floats, by the way, Tim, looking back over toward New Mexico's float here and our happy visitors from outer space and so on. I try and spot where the driver is going to be in this float. I did spot one up front right under one of the saucers. Is that right?
That is correct. You, of course, by the time we finish decorating, you really won't be able to see it, but all the floats have either 2 or 3 operators inside the float, depends on the complexity of the float.
All right, now I've got to ask you on camera because I want to apply. I want to see if I can drive one of these years. How do I do that?
Oh, God, you're more than welcome to come down and drive. It's quite interesting because the driver really cannot see anything where they're going. They could literally have a blindfold on, and they just have to listen to the observer or spotter giving the direction saying left, right, stop, go. And it's actually pretty easy if you just have faith in what you're listening to. They're automatic transmissions and power steering, so they're pretty easy to drive, but if you're claustrophobic and you're inside these floats for over 3 hours, it might be kind of tenuous.
You won't serve well doing it that way. All right, let's see what's going on here. What are they doing right here?
Well, what they're working on is one of the more detailed pieces that's going on the float. First, they take this piece of, it's called flex foam. It's a foam material that's cut in like what we call bologna slices, basically, and it's painted the initial white color. Then around the edges, they put on some ground-up sweet rice, and now they've taken pumpkin seeds, squash seeds, and put them in the shingling effect to kind of give it a good detail. And so these various items go on the float to create a nice pattern work. And again, you know, the detail that these people are doing is fantastic.
And again, he mentioned about 1,500 volunteers a day doing this, Tim, and this is going to go on. Does it go day and night, or do they wrap up around midnight, or how does that go?
Well, each of the nights on the 26th through the 29th, we work from 8 a.m. until midnight. And then on the final night, as we call it, on December 30th, we work all night long, straight through until 6 o'clock the next morning. So we're ready for the final judging when they select the prizes on the morning of December 31st. We're not told what the prizes are until 6 o'clock in the morning on January 1st, but we need to have our floats done 24 hours before the Rose Parade actually starts.
All right, and I'm actually going to come back in just a moment because I'm going to tell you something about what's called a mini parade. And, Tim, that always gets fun, too. The mini parade is something you need to know about. And, of course, the Rose Parade, New Year's Day, going down Colorado Boulevard. But we'll be back in just a moment, everybody. Why are we here? Fiesta Parade Floats in the city of Duarte, getting ready for New Year's, and simply because you ought to know. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Hall, you ought to know, from the city of Duarte. I'm at Fiesta Parade Floats with the owner, Tim Estes, and we're looking, Tim, they say it always takes some mighty big ones to pull this off, and you've got some big ones here. These are actually Christmas ornaments, you were telling me. These are coated in a little bit of glue. I've got some on my hand there. But what are we doing here?
Well, what we're doing on the Mardi Gras float for FTD this year, and Mardi Gras is synonymous with a lot of beads. But we've taken these large plastic balls that actually were commercial Christmas decoration displays, and we turned around and drilled the holes out down the center of the ball, so then we can slide them onto the steel pipes that are fixed to the float. And of course, after they're coated with the white glue, they take and crush sweet rice to put the actual decoration on the float in itself. And there's about 120 of these on the float, so this float has a lot of beads.
Well, and there they are. They're on the pipes and they're lining the float, part of the Mardi Gras. And, of course, FTD, synonymous with flowers, floral delivery everywhere around the world, and people always associate great things, again, with FTD.
Correct. And FTD's been a great sponsor in the Rose Parade. They not only have a float in the parade, they also decorate all the VIP cars like the Grand Marshal and the Tournament President. FTD, we certainly want a float that's going to be both very colorful and floral, and we got a great design here with the Mardi Gras float they're doing this year.
Well, we talked about it a little bit. You were showing me something really unique, but you always come up with unique concepts and ideas. But this one, you've got a person that's going to be perched high up in what I call the crow's nest, but that's going to be an observer on the float.
Correct. On the front of the FTD float is a huge lion, but the lion rotates side to side. So I had no instant way to put an observer up the front of the float. But I was going to have a float rider at the top of the crown, and that crown is rotating 360 degrees. And our observer is actually being the float rider that's on what we call that crow's nest up there that elevates so she's 18 feet in the air. And in case she has to come down emergency, a section, as you can see, of the crown flips down so she can get down in case of an emergency.
Well, and there are regulations because they have to be able to get off the float in, 45 seconds or so?
Correct. They have to get off in a timely manner, and that's 45 seconds. And we've actually have to do a fire drill for each and every float in the Rose Parade. The Turn Roses stresses safety as well as Fiesta. Also, because she is the actual observer, she has to have her own fire extinguisher up there, so you can see that where she stands has a fire extinguisher.
Well, she's got the fire extinguisher, she has a brake, she can actually stop the float.
Correct. She has her own brake pedal so she can stop the float, and she's been on that float for both the test drives, and she's very confident.
All right, now let's move on. Decorations are going on, people are starting to work, and it's going to get real busy in here. Groups really get in here at nighttime, don't they?
Correct. The second shift is just coming on, and they'll be working until midnight tonight.
All right, let's walk up here real quick. This is more for that float, but what kind of material are we using right here?
Well, what this is corn husk, like you make tamales, corn. And the corn husk itself is an iron flat, so we have something better to work with. And then they're cut into the various shapes that we actually want. Then they're coated with glue and then applied to, in this case, these umbrella poles that go on the back corners of the FTD float.
All right, now everything has to be, again, are we saying bio?
Well, natural materials. We can't alter the color or even take one color to make it into something different. So I can use grapes, but I can't take grape juice to change the color of something else. So everything has to be nature, whether it's a flower petal, seeds, moss, seeds, and other dry materials as we use on the floats.
All right, let's move on. We're going to go on down here. Look at the colors in here. Now, this is a painted surface. We can see the this material. The yellow is what?
The yellow, this is again yellow straw flower confetti, and then eventually these will be field mums, as we call it, that go on top of the float. These are the umbrellas for the FTD float. Everything is painted first because it's like painting by numbers. The decorators decorate by color, and so they know where to start and stop. One color being yellow versus one color being purple.
Shows us where the pattern is, but it all has to be covered.
Absolutely, 100% covered.
All right, over here we've got a train, and when we make reference to this big giant train back here behind us, who is this?
Well, this is for the City of Duarte City of Hope, which is quite unique. It's one of the longest running participants in the Rose Parade. But again, it's a co-sponsored float. It's the only one in the Rose Parade because it's kind of like grandfathered in as far as two names. But again, it's the City of Duarte, which is saluting their 50th anniversary, as well as the City of Hope Hospital. And on this train, all the wheels are moving. We got smoke coming out of the smokestack. And riding in the little cars in the back are going to be children who are patients at the City of Hope Hospital.
That's fantastic.
It's a great story, and it's great to see the kids having fun.
All right, you've got another one down here, and we've got some shots of it. It's got two giant owls on it and a huge library, and it says the tale of two cities, and I'm assuming that's the city of Palmdale, but they're referring to Palmdale, Lancaster.
Well, yeah, the City of Palmdale, this is their third year sponsoring the Float in the Rose Parade, and they wanted to talk about reading and education, how one can actually gain knowledge of the different types of travels and celebrations throughout the world through reading. In this case, we have a number of library books. You have the wise teacher, big owl, that'll be turning his head and moving his eyes. And there's actually two other student owls that are also turning their heads. And at the back is the big building that's representing the different libraries with the City of Palmdale.
All right, I've got to reach down here behind you, and I'm just going to pull up one of these. And what that is right there is
This is one of the various roses that we use in the Rose Parade. Fiesta Parade Float is using approximately 275,000 different roses. We have all colors, varieties, actually lengths and size. We have one rose that's actually 6 feet tall that we'll be showcasing on the Queen's Float this year in the Rose Parade. The roses are just as tall as you.
So 250,000 different types of roses. There's some thorns on there.
Yep.
Watch yourself. We're in the city of Duarte, everybody, at Fiesta Parade Floats. Now, can we get a quick shot? I just want to turn real quick. Joe Flores, our camera person here. Chris Hall. Mary is over there. Jody's out here. And Tim. All these volunteers are getting these floral arrangements or different flowers separated so they can get them all ready to go for these volunteers.
Correct. These are actually for our professional florist teams that we bring to do the gingerbread or the icing on the cake, per se. So they're getting all the different flower packs ready and together. And these florists are coming from throughout the United States. They come as far away as Florida, New York, a number from California, Colorado, Tennessee, so a little bit of everything.
And what are we seeing real quick? What is this right here in this pot?
These are proteas that are going on the float and being prepared. It's a great looking material that gives a lot of contrast in its shape and color, its looks, and it helps augment the overall floral presentation that's headed up by Jim Hine here at Fiesta Parade Floats.
All right. Tim, we're going to be right back to wrap up this show. We're in Duarte, the city of Duarte, which is 11 miles from the actually where you're going to line up for the parade. And I had to tell everybody about a mini parade. Tell us real quick what's going to happen on the night of December 31st.
December 31st, we leave Duarte at approximately 4:30 in the afternoon, and we travel the over 11 miles to get to the beginning of the parade. It takes us 7 hours, very tenuous, but we take the floats at only 2 miles an hour, and it's a long night.
And people actually come out and watch that mini parade, don't they?
Oh, we have at least 3,000, 4,000 people at the beginning, and there's people lined up the streets for all 11 miles. It's just fantastic to see people coming out.
All right. January 1st, New Year's Day, it all happens. 12 floats from Fiesta make their way down Colorado Boulevard. Wow, what a place. Fiesta Parade Floats. All the volunteers are here. Tim Estes, Jim Hine, getting ready for 2008, their 20th year, everybody. We're going to be right back to wrap it up because you ought to know. Welcome back, everyone. Jim Hall, you ought to know. Fiesta Parade Floats is where we are in the city of Duarte, and we're in the parade decorating tent. Jim Hine has joined us to wrap up this show. Award-winning decorator, floral director Jim Hine, and you're very busy now.
Quite, yeah. This is my whole year.
This is your whole year. Floral arrangements and decorators are all out here, and you're scrambling around here. What is it you have to oversee today?
Just watching the material that's coming in, seeing that all the flowers are in the good condition that I expect them to be, and we're just going over all the final directions with my floral designers.
All right, and Tim, another year, 20th anniversary celebration, 2008, another New Year's, and what are we looking forward to for 2009?
Well, 2009 is about a week away, so I'm not too worried about that right now. But we've already given, Jim and I have already been given a hint on what the potential theme is going to be for the parade. But we're trying to wrap this up right now for the 2008 parade. And again, we're fortunate to have a lot of great talent and a lot of workers and all the professional florists. And Jim Hine is just great at doing all this floral work.
All right, you want to come out and help decorate a float? Call the people at Fiesta Parade Floats. Or come down and see the floats being decorated. Better than that, you can actually come down, and there's an admission charge, but you can watch the floats being decorated, and you can take a little tour right here at Fiesta Parade Floats. I've got my roses. I'm ready for the parade. We're going to watch the floats going down and headed for the line December 31st, everybody. Why are we here at Fiesta Parade Floats? Simply because USC, number one, you ought to know. We'll see you, everybody.